What's going on, guys? It's Greg Farley from the Wiseguys, aka Pegasus, and we're here today to talk about some very important cards that were printed in Dark Neostorm that you may or may not know the full effects of and how they interact with the game. It's important to have a full understanding of cards, especially with us going into Nat season. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. No Material is the first card I wanted to talk about. Shout out to Nate Dietrich. He is the admin of the Judges Lounge, and he basically broke down a very informative, important post that I feel like more people need to see. So if you're not in that group, I'm going to try to convey the message that he was sending out to the Yu-Gi-Oh community. No Material is basically a trigger effect, so it must be placed onto a chain with any other trigger effects before allowing fast effects to activate. Keep that in mind, as it may prevent you from being able to directly chain onto an opponent's effect. So let's use an example. If your opponent special summons Salamander Gazelle on their turn and activates its effect as Chain Link 1, you have to choose between responding with No Material or Ash Blossom. You can't use both. Moving on to cards such as Ebe, the World Chalice Justiciar, Firewall Exceed Dragon, Cyburst Reminder, Muddy Mud Dragon, so on and so forth. Any cards that are like them, that have effects that are based on them coming out of the extra deck. If these monsters are flipped face down, so let's say Subterra Guru, Book of Moon, so on and so forth, even if flip summoned afterwards, they're still considered to have been synchro or XYZ summoned, so their effects can be applied normally, and that's very important with cards like Crackdown in today's meta. Moving on, we have Mech Knight Crusader Avramax. This actually came up a few weeks ago against a local opponent. It was a really good match. I think he was playing Thunder Dragon and I was playing, what was I playing? Endymion, and I actually handed him a Lava Golem. Shout out to Lava Golem. That's my spicy tech. I like it more than Sphere Mode for certain reasons, Master Cerberus being one of them. But the effect reads, if your opponent gets rid of it off the field, shuffle something off the field as well. And a lot of people had questions that day as to distributing count. If you get Kaiju'd, if you get Layer of Darkness, if you get Lava Golemed, if you get Sphere Moded, does that still activate? Yes, it does. And it's very important that people know that so they don't get cheated, especially going into YCS Knoxville and more importantly at Nats, because Nats is where it all comes down, as it's the biggest dance of the year. Moving on, we got important cards like Signet Mining. Basically, cards with effects in the hand don't need to actually be in the hand when the activation condition is met. They must be in the hand when forming the next available chain. That's the most important part. Basically, that means if you send a Salamangreat monster to the grave for cost and add a Salamangreat Gazelle, Gazelle can special itself. So a lot of people may not have known that. Now you know. Mystic Mine is probably the most annoying card in this set, but it also is a very powerful card that you need to know how it works. Basically, when Mystic Mine is played from the hand or flipped face up, its effects don't begin applying until it resolves. So monster effects can be chained normally. However, if Mystic Mine is activated during the resolution of an effect, let's use Metaverse for an example, Demise of the Land for an example, its effects will begin applying immediately, meaning there's no opportunity to activate monster effects once Mystic Mine hits the field. That is important. Also, it's very important to understand that cards like Eagle Booster or cards like Forbidden Lance, so on and so forth, cards that say you're unaffected by this, it doesn't matter because Mystic Mine affects the player. And if either of you control 0, that's still the same number, so Mystic Mine would be destroyed. Moving on, we got cards like Crackdown. The effects of Crackdown are continuous effects. If Crackdown leaves the field or is negated, its target will return to the opponent. It can attack, and it can have its effects activated. If Crackdown's target is face down when it resolves, Crackdown's effects will still apply normally, control is changed, and after flipping it face up, the monster cannot attack or have its effects activated. If Crackdown's target is flipped face down after it resolves, that player keeps control of the monster indefinitely, and after flipping face up, the monster can attack and have its effects activated. Basically, Subterra comes to mind. When Guru flips something down, when it flips back up, it's live and it's yours. Also a very important card, Orcus Crescendo. If a monster is not in the same location where its effect was activated when Crescendo resolves, it won't be banished. Let's use Ash Blossom as an example again. If the effect of Ash Blossom is activated and Crescendo is chained, The activation of Ash Blossom and its effect is negated, but the effect to banish will not be applied. That is very, very important to understand. As yeah, I'm not that it would matter that much, but the card won't be banished. So cards that are very similar to that won't be. Pendulum Halt. The restriction which prevents adding cards for the rest of the turn as part of the effect is activated. So let's say Pendulum Halt gets negated. The player can still add cards to their hand normally. A lot of people tried to have this argument at my locals that someone was actually playing Pendulum Halt. I don't think the card's that good anyway. It's decent, but it's not amazing. And when you have a deck like Pendulum, like Endymion, that needs to go off now, you can't afford to have a condition like that needs to be met, even though it's pretty easy with an Electromite. So basically that was a few rulings. I could go on and on and on, but basically that's pretty much all you needed to know. As I get new effects or as I get new examples, I'll try to bring them up to you. This has been Greg Farley from the Wiseguys. Peace. And if you do have some free time, make sure you visit our sponsor's website, inkplaymats.com, and make sure you try to use our subscription code, the Wiseguys TCG10, also our coupon code, the Wiseguys TCG10, and you get 5% off of all their products. YG, baby.